These are 10 petitioners appeal to President Mahama to remove EC Chair Jean Mensah and Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejabeng.
Also this hour, Santehene-led committee to conclude Bawku mediation talks today. We're live at the Menchia Palace.
And more than half of secondary school candidates who sat the WASSCE exams may not get admission to the university.
Welcome to a brand new week of News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor.
And I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor, the Office of the President has received a cumulative of 10 petitions seeking the removal of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, and her two deputies, Dr. Eric Bosman-Asari and Samuel Tete. According to TV3 sources, 7 of the petitions were filed by private citizens for the removal of the EC chair and her deputies. The remaining 3 are seeking the removal of the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejabeng, alleging various misconducts by the heads of the two institutions. President Mahama has, in accordance with Article 146 of the Constitution, forwarded the petitions by private citizens to Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni for the determination of prima facie against them. Let's have a quick chat with private legal practitioner Martin Pebu on these petitions. Good afternoon, Martin. I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. But, I mean, these petitions, obviously you're not surprised about them, are you?
I'm not surprised at all, because in actual fact, for Kisi Ejabeng, the special prosecutor, I think the information some people insisted on is that the petitions are 15. So, the fact that it's even lower is a bit strange to me.
15 petitions against who?
Kisi Ejabeng, that was what we heard initially, and it's been in the news for 2 weeks now. So it's surprising that now they say it's 3. But well, this is the official response. But overall, I'm not surprised. I'm about to add my own petition. I'm working on mine because I also have new grounds. I believe it's possible that my grounds will be separate. So I'm also applying for petitioning for the removal of Kisi Ejabeng.
I see. Again, this time around, the petitions have not been leaked. How does this come to you, considering you have once considered to petition the president to remove Kisi Ejabeng himself? We do not know the content of this petition.
Yes, we don't know those ones. But since mine has not yet gone, I've laid the charges already in public, where I said Kisi Ejabeng is corrupt, where I said he's incompetent, and the incompetent one is the easiest to prove, because Kisi himself admitted that he saw Oforiatta leave Ghana. Meanwhile, at the time, he knew that he had 5 cases, so not just the SML, 5 cases against Oforiatta. And Kisi lied by saying he went to a National Intelligence Bureau to help him arrest Oforiatta. They didn't help him. Then he went to Ghana Immigration Service to help him arrest Oforiatta. They didn't help him. Then he went to National Security to help him arrest Oforiatta. They didn't. It's turned out that these are false. At least the first response from the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, or formerly BNI, is that Kisi never sought any help. I read a letter this on Saturday on key points. So when we present this, there's the grounds of incompetence and stated misbehavior. The head of our this anti-corruption institution lying to the citizens. He will not survive it.
I see.
They're not surviving.
And then there are 7 petitions against the Electoral Commission chairperson, Jean Mensah, and her 2 deputies. How does that come to you as well?
That one too, I'm not surprised. It was always clear that, Jean Mensah was going to go. You know, from the 2024 election, this campaign into the elections, etc. I remember one thing. You know, when we asked for an audit of the voters register, this simple thing, allow a public audit of the voters register, Jean Mensah would not allow. So you could see that there was something they were hiding. And in 2020, I didn't support the opening of a new voters register. We had COVID, and they forced us to go and stand in the queue. Of course, I didn't go because it was clear that that was a health
But what
hazard.
we are doing now, Council, are we not perpetuating a cycle?
Oh no! If the person is bad, the person has to go. It's not a cycle. If the person is good, the person
it's not a repeat of the playbook that was used to remove Madame Charlotte Osei?
No, this one's Charlotte Osei so too. So let me be clear. Once it was shown that she a witch hunt at all. I've never said so. The only thing we say is that the procedural mistakes. You remember Charlotte Osei said so for Ekufu, Chief Justice at the time, didn't give her a copy of the petition. Yes, those are the matters we are raising. And then other things like one of the petitioners was said to have been a dead person. And then also Ekufu-Addo allowed somebody to come and sign when the petition was presented without the person's signature. So those were procedural things. But by and large, you see some of them occurred in the removal of Tokonu. You see in Tokonu's removal, she didn't get a ruling on the prima facie determination. And some of us have said that this is the last time we should have without a ruling on the prima facie. Just to repeat, when we say prima facie, so that's the determination President Mahama made when he looked at the petitions and said that yes, hey, they carry weight. There is there's water or there's something in it. So Justice Tokonu should go and answer. So President Mahama should have given a reasoned ruling. Yes, he's not a lawyer, but he could have allowed lawyers to do it for him to sign. Even Ekufu-Addo, who is a lawyer, when it was his turn, Lawyer Kujeto wrote the prima facie ruling for him, and Ekufu-Addo signed. So that's one of the improvements. So the point I'm making is that when it comes to the Charlotte Osei removal, the things that were complained about, they were procedural, but it remains that they didn't set up the entity tender committee. There was procurement breaches. That one, she doesn't deny it. There were procurement breaches, though later I hear, why she did also save us money here and there. But the fact still remains that there were procurement breaches. So I'm not one of the persons saying that the removal of Charlotte Osei was unjustified. So it's the procedural breaches that we want to stop, like what has happened also in Tokonu. Let's up the game. We shouldn't have those petty mistakes. We shouldn't have them because some people
Indeed,
can
Council,
then hang on to the
speaking of mistakes, again, during the process to remove Justice Tokonu, there were issues around whether or not the petitioner, there were issues around the prima facie case, and then telling the Chief Justice, about those prima facie case. There were issues about knowing the content of the petitions against her. What should be the lessons learned here in going through the procedure?
Yes, so the lesson is that next time, as I mentioned earlier, there should be a reasoned ruling. People can assist President Mahama or any other president when the president is not a lawyer. There should be a ruling when the president says there will be a prima facie determination. That's in the interim. But thankfully, we are about to change the constitution. So in the new constitution, hopefully the president will not have a role in the removal of a chief justice because it weakens the judiciary. So actually that should be the first lesson, that we should hurry up with the constitutional review process that Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh is leading. They should have submitted their report by now, right? Yes, so let's ensure that we do the constitutional amendments quickly. Then we can strengthen this and then the prima facie ruling too. Okay, that's what I think we should do.
Very well, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Martin Kwebu is a private legal practitioner. We've just been looking at those 10 petitions against the Electoral Commission chair, her 2 deputies, and the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin. This morning, we know that the minority in Parliament has also petitioned the Speaker to withdraw the referral of leader Alexander Apenyumakin to the Privileges Committee after he attended an ECOWAS Parliament meeting without being a member of the official delegation from Ghana. The majority leader, Mahama Yarga, filed a motion last month against the Ufutu legislator, alleging serious breaches of parliamentary privileges and demanded sanctions against him. But the minority caucus is fighting back Speaker's directive. The Deputy Minority Leader, Patricia Pieje, who was to replace Apenyumakin on the delegation, has rejected her inclusion, asking the Speaker to reverse the referral of Apenyumakin to the Privileges Committee. She's requesting a new delegation list that includes him.
We in the minority, we are here and we demand the following. 1, the immediate withdrawal of the Privileges Committee's petition. It is gross abuse of process and an affront to justice. A public apology from the Speaker and majority leader, to ECOWAS and to the people of Ghana for the international embarrassment they caused. 3, the passage of a resolution restoring Honorable Apenyumakin's name to Ghana's ECOWAS delegation and affirming Ghana's commitment to the rule of law.
Let's bring you some other stories right now, because there's anxiety and frustration among WASSCE candidates and parents following the release of the 2025 provisional WASSCE results, which recorded a significant dip in performance across the board in several core subjects. A total of 461,000 plus candidates from 1,021 schools registered for the examination, representing a slight 0.24% increase over the 2024 entry figure. Of these, 5,821 candidates were absent. However, the 2025 performance trends revealed alarming declines in these core subjects. While statistics show that more than half of the candidates failed core maths, making it the weakest performance recorded in 7 years. Contrasting the performance in other subjects, English language recorded the highest pass rate, with 69% of candidates scoring between A1 to C6. The results also reveal that 1 in every 3 candidates scored an F9 in social studies, the highest failure rates among all 4 core subjects, and the subject traditionally considered one of the easiest papers saw an unexpected decline in candidates' performance as well. WASSCE has made login details available to heads of schools to facilitate access to individual candidate results. And we're going to take you onto the dashboard this afternoon. But before we do that, yes, Public Affairs Director of the West African Secondary School Examination, or it's WAEC, West African Examination Council, John Kapi, and the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, who spoke earlier to us on a TV3 New Day. First is John Kapi.
Have a situation where, let me talk about irregularities first, where the candidates are bringing in foreign material. So it probably looks as if some of the candidates are not adequately prepared, or they have this psychological feeling that they would need to get some assistance from somewhere in order to be able to make it. And then when it comes to, I wouldn't be able to talk much about teaching because I'm not with them in the classrooms, but a little more effort in terms of preparing the candidates adequately for these examinations would help. And then generally, as an examining body, if you look at the statistics, we certainly would not be happy with it, because if you set an examination and everybody passes, that raises eyebrows. If everybody fails, it raises eyebrows. But there should be a kind of balance, so that, because don't all have the same ability levels.
Circle. I also didn't like it. So you see, the point I want to make is that all these things border largely on adequate student preparation. We don't know how inadequate the space for preparing for examination is in our senior high schools because of the length of time students spend in school. And so always should try as much as possible to make sure that you improve the time on task. Okay, you improve the contact hours within the limited time they spend because of, among others, the double track. In the past, we've seen a lot of interventions in that area. The interventions still continue in many schools, but it appears that there's a coordination deficit. It will be good that the GES coordinates these interventions and motivates teachers to do this extra work, because we don't have enough days to spend in school, and so you definitely have to do extra work and support them with extra allowance. That's very, very important. As I'm saying, it is an opportunity to review and strengthen the learning process, especially the pre-examination learning process. That is one. Two, an opportunity to remind students that this time we have moved into an era where there are very, very, very biting implications for them.
That's Kofi Asare, the Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. I mentioned we're going to take you to the dashboard. We're going to do that right now and try and walk you through what the numbers are from WAEC, who've been providing details as to the performance, comparing it vis-a-vis with others in previous years, and why many are having this conversation, because there is quite the concern for conversations as to what we're seeing in terms of the results for this year. And so 461,736 students were registered for the exam. Out of that, 1.26% were absent. That's around 5,000 of them who were not present during the examination. And we'll seek to, amongst many other things, take you through a bit more of the details as well. And so we see the pass rates for the core subject, and this is what it's looking like. And so for English, we see 69% managed to get between A1 and C6, 69%. In core maths, that number is at 49%. And that is a drop from previous years, because over the course of the last 3 years, we've seen more than 50% of the students as well pass core maths. Integrated science as well, we've seen a decline in terms of the pass rate as well. And then the huge one that surprised a lot of people, social studies, because over the last 3 years, we're averaging around 70% students passing, but now that's dropped to 46 or 56% rather, I should say. And then there's a bit more in terms of what it is that we'll bring to you this afternoon. The notable observations as made: more than half of the candidates failed core maths in the 2025 WASSCE, making it the worst performance in 7 years. Then also, 1 in every 3 got an F9 in social studies in the 2025 WASSCE. And we've been going through some of the questions which were asked, particularly the essay part, which was about value system, amongst many other things, cooperation with the UN. And so for many, the reaction has been, who failed social studies? But this is the result, and this is what we're seeing play out in terms of the WASSCE result for this year as well. And again, another notable thing, English language had the highest pass rate in the year at 69% between A1 and C6. And that is what we know. But we'll take all of this and subject it to a bit more in terms of scrutiny. But here's what the 4-year trend looks like. And that's what I was talking to you about. That if you look at the core subject, over the last 4 years, we see that for English language between 2022 and 2025, it's hovered around 69 to 73%. For maths, this was the sharpest dip we've seen in some years. After 3 years where it was above 60%. And so to have been in the regions of 60% and now you're at 48.73 is a cause for concern. For science, it's fluctuated a bit. At some point, it's been around the 50 percentile region. And so, yes, you can make the argument and say this falls within the trend and the percentile ranges, but that raises serious concern. When you look at social studies, for instance, significant decline from the 70 percentile regions to 55.82, and 6,295 candidates have their exam results cancelled for bringing foreign materials into, and it's important to note this because the Ghana Education Service has been issuing a statement on the back of what it is that we've seen, and we'll incorporate all of that when we get onto the phones with Professor Jonathan Fletcher. But 653 candidates as well had the entire results cancelled as well for possessing mobile phones, and we know that there is over 100 schools, 908 subject results, and 158 full results withheld for suspected offences, and then 100 plus schools, 185. All of these schools have their results withheld as a result of alleged collusion. Let's get onto the phone lines right now. Professor Jonathan Fletcher is a former Dean of Education at the University of Ghana and an educationist as well. Let's put all of these to him for a bit more in terms of analysis and a way forward, because that's what we will seek to do this afternoon. Prof, I appreciate you and for joining us. You've seen the result, you've seen the trend. What in your estimation could have accounted for what it is that we've seen in this year's WASSCE?
Take this opportunity to say hi to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Prof. I can.
Oh, you can? Okay, very good. Yes, absolutely. I've had a look at the results, and like you, I sometimes find it very difficult to understand why we are in the situation we are now. But of course, it's early days yet, and we need time to analyze and look at all the factors that have contributed to this. But if you're comparing the results, particularly the results of mathematics, for example, for last year and this year, that's quite a drop, because from about 18% down. And all the other subjects, core subjects, the same. So definitely there is something the matter with the situation. But as I said, we probably can't get all the answers now. We need time to study the data carefully and look at all the factors that could contribute to this situation. But on the face of it, if you look at the data on the face of it, you would probably look at different areas where you maybe look at reasons why that should happen. And anytime that there is a case like this, I always look at things from the student end. That is, after all, the other ones writing the exam, and that is maybe the first place we look at to find out if there was something that could have gone wrong as far as the students are concerned. And if you look at, and I'm using the math, for example, it's always been a problem. I mean, last year was great. This year, and then earlier, it wasn't that good. But it looks like with the math, as far as students are concerned, we are struggling to get students to, dispel this perception that math is a difficult subject. That's the first thing, and that's very fundamental. And until we're able to do that, that doesn't help a lot, because a lot of students think that mathematics is difficult, and therefore they don't even invest enough time in the study of the subject. And so what that happens is that if with that perception, the students are not investing enough time in the study of the subject, then of course the performance will be affected. And once the performance is affected, then that you start a cycle. So it becomes a vicious cycle, because they think it's difficult. And so when they fail, they think, well, we told you it's difficult, we're going to fail, and we failed. So the thing that I always look at is students' perception about the nature of mathematics and how it helps them. That's the first thing. But apart from the attitudes, it's also a number of things. If you look at examinations that students have gone through over the years, we've always had this challenge of examination malpractice, which is which is on the face of it might suggest that, there's something that is minor, but it's not. It's serious, because if students are engaged in examination malpractice, what that means is that they believe that if they don't get caught, they get away with it. There are some students who will believe that during the exams they're going to get help, and therefore why waste time studying the subject, or not only math subjects, but other subjects as well.
Right.
So why study the subject? And that itself is not a good idea. So if we are able to, kill this canker of examination malpractice, I think the results will be good, because students will actually earn the marks they get.
Right.
Now, as we speak,
which is what is the government's argument right now? Because the Ghana Education Service has issued a statement where they are seeking to clarify the conversation in terms of the results, and they say that, look, they enforce strict exam rules this time around. They didn't allow for more practice, and also they are seeking to return the country to the entirety of West Africa writing a paper at a go, and not just Ghana writing its own. And so this is a true reflection of the strength of the students. Yeah,
absolutely. No, I agree. But what the point I'm trying to make is that even as we speak, we have results, that we are not have access to because of examination malpractice. The point I'm trying to make is that once we are not able to kill that completely, we're going to have these problems. There are students who genuinely believe that they can get help, and because of that, they are not working hard. And therefore, if it is true that this year, effort has been done to stop that, then of course those students will not do well, because they knew they thought they were going to be helped, and they didn't get that. The other thing also that we need to look at is contact time. I mean, it's important, because I am at the moment currently working about 10 math teachers. Every single one of them is saying that they are not able to complete the syllabus or the curriculum. Now, when that happens, examiners are supposed to set examinations to cover the entire curriculum. And therefore, if teachers are unable to complete it, then obviously students are not going to do well, because they wouldn't have covered, the areas that have been, covered in the examination. That's another point.
Right.
As far as teachers are concerned, there are a number of things that we also need to look at. First of all, we need to look at teachers' commitment to the teaching of the subject, not only math, but also other subjects. Number two, we need to look at the way in which the subjects are taught. And this is also a problem. I mean, there are a lot of people who don't like math because teachers are not teaching the subject very well, and therefore they are not, interested in it. That's also another thing that we need to look at. And also we need to make sure that teachers get, continue to, and they do actually, because actually teachers if you like, in this country, secondary teachers meet every week to discuss the subjects they are going to teach and so on. So in that sense, I would say they are getting the professional support they need. But by and large, obviously, apart from the teachers, there's also teachers who are actually guided by the examination questions and so on. I had a conversation with some of my teachers, and they were saying that this year, the nature of the questions was different. And I think WAEC is doing a good job, because this year the questions are mainly on applications, sort of. And students are not used to the application questions. They are used to, memorizing facts and reproducing fact exams. So it means that the questions that were said this year are slightly, the style is slightly different from what they are used to, but I feel that it's better for the examination to be, used to test practical knowledge or application rather than, theories and memorizing and producing, not facts that just have taught them. So these are some of the issues. So we need to look at the students themselves. We need to find out how we're going to motivate students to invest more in their studies. Secondly, we need to look at how teachers are teaching the subject and how we can support them to teach the various subjects in a way that students will understand. Sometimes students don't understand. They sit in the class and they listen to a teacher and they have got the knowledge, but they haven't got the understanding.
Prof,
and
just
therefore,
quickly,
during exams like this, it's difficult for them to be able to apply the knowledge they have.
Prof, just
so
quickly, just quickly on the way forward, I've heard you mention a number of things that need to be done. How quickly should we do this? Because the government says by next year, Ghana will not be writing WASSCE for itself alone. It will be the entirety of West Africa sitting together and writing. I've heard you compliment WAEC that it's good the path they are taking, but it does appear our students are not ready in terms of applying what it is that they've studied. If the trend is anything to go by based on what it is that we've seen, then the result will get a lot worse before it gets better. How quickly can we quickly close that gap of application before next year, May, June?
Yeah, and this is good that it's come out. I think a lot of teachers, are talking about this year's exams and they are thinking that the style is different, which means that they have to start now, because teaching is not just about teaching people facts and them memorizing the facts. It's about actually teaching people, concepts and skills and things that will help them, in real life situations. And therefore, I think teachers must start putting emphasis on application now. There is a new curriculum, secondary school curriculum, as you probably know, and that curriculum is putting a lot of emphasis on application and not just people memorizing facts. So I think it's started. The second thing is that there is a program which is mathematics intervention English. This program was started about a year ago, and I think it's a very good program where, because some of the students don't do so well in the subject because the foundation is very weak. Now, there is a program called Intervention Mathematics, and that program, in my view, should be rolled out to all secondary schools, because when you go to a secondary school, you probably see about 20% of the students who are not operating at a level that they should be. So therefore, we should try and roll this out. And secondly, we should make sure that every learner is given the opportunity to succeed. Otherwise, if we leave it like that, then of course, as you rightly said, the result might be worse next year.
Prof, I appreciate you speaking to us this afternoon. That's Professor Jonathan Fletcher speaking to us this afternoon on the WASSCE results as we've seen it, and the concerns that a number of you have had to raise, including the Ghana Education Service themselves, who have been providing some explanation that, look, we're moving from a Ghana-centered WASSCE exam to the entirety of West Africa. Results or monitoring and supervision was very stringent during this time round, and so this is a true reflection of the strengths of students. Let us know what you think as well, even as we proceed on our very first break of the bulletin. Now, when we return, we're in the Ashanti regional capital of Kumasi, Menchia to be specific, because the Otumfuo-led mediation in relation to the Bawku conflict is rounding up its work today. We'll take you there and bring you details. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's still News Central here on TV3. Now, the Santehene Tumfuose to the second-led mediation committee will deliver the final ruling in the long-running Bawku chieftaincy mediation this afternoon. President John Dramani Mahama tasked him to lead efforts in resolving the age-old conflict. Although discussions were temporarily suspended, they resumed on May 13th, during which the Santehene observed that talks had contributed to the period of relative calm in the area. For years, the Bawku municipality has endured recurring violence and heightened tension, with sporadic attacks resulting in the loss of lives and the imposition of curfews aimed at curbing unrest. The situation has disrupted livelihoods, strained community relations, and drawn national concern over the urgent need for a lasting peace settlement in Bawku. Evans Inkom is our correspondent at the Menchia Palace observing events for us, so he'll join us now with a bit more on this. Evans, talk to us about what is happening today.
Well, so the student parties have arrived. The first to arrive was the Kusasi Gates, led by a number of the elders. Of course, 30 minutes afterwards, we also saw the arrival of the Mampusi Gates, also led by their elders. So as I speak to you now, they are in there. Mediation has started. Like I said, this is the final day of the mediation process. We do not know after this particular talks or today's talks, what mode communication will be executed, whether there's going to be direct communication by way of a statement from Menchia telling us or detailing within the last couple of months what has happened and how they arrived at the very resolution that we are expecting, or the communication will channel through the presidency, and afterwards the public will also be privy or be made to know what has transpired within the last couple of months. That we are not privy to such information. Information has been very economical as far as this particular mediation talks is concerned ever since it started, because partly due to the sensitivity of the situation. An intel tells me that today what we should be expecting is a resolution that will restore a love of brothers and that will also build bridges. Not necessarily about who has won, but most importantly to ensure that there's absolute peace, and that peace must be perpetual. That is the target.
I see. We understand also that there's heavy security presence there.
Well, absolutely. So there's heavy police military here. I spoke to the deputy commander, police Ashanti region. He will not tell me the number of police deployed here, only to say that we're now. That is to say that colossal, per my observation. Then we also have a number of military personnel who have also been deployed, especially at vantage positions, about 5 or 6 cars from the military camp. They are all here, heavily armed. If you go to the precinct of where the Jubilee Hall, where the mediation talks are currently ongoing, the police military there are heavily armed, manning all areas as far as that particular environment is concerned. We are just outside, like I said. Information has been very economical. They are being guided, jealously.
I see. As far as you're concerned, what time will we hear from the committee today?
It will be very premature for me to even put a time to wait, because all the meetings that have followed, they do not have a specific time. And especially it will be literally suicidal to say that they are completing or they are ending at this hour. Because this is the final day. Yes, I have been told, again, from a source, that last night the Santehene engaged them in a highly closed door meeting. So it started last night. They are continuing today. Today, both gates will know the position. And I also understand that the Santahene-led team is also being guided by a number of institutions. So we are talking about the National House of Chiefs, of course, history, and of course, the traditional roots. So all these things are very comprehensive, and certainly is going to give us some level of an extension as far as duration is concerned.
Evans, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. William Evans Inkum is our Ashanti region correspondent who joined us from the Menchia Palace, where that crucial final meeting on the Bawku conflict is taking place. We'll observe developments there and bring you new updates as they emerge.
Now, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, says government is revitalizing the country's industrialization agenda with targeted policies aimed at improving productivity and job creation. Speaking at the 14th Association of Ghana Industries Awards in Accra, the Vice President said policies including the 24-hour economy is designed to encourage industries to operate in productive shifts, boost output, and expand employment opportunities.
Into a leading export-driven economy. Under the program, we are prioritizing value addition and diversification. We are pushing for transformation in key value chains: cassava, tomato, palm oil, textiles, and pharmaceuticals to produce finished goods that we know can compete on the global stage. To support this, the government is investing in our logistics, modernizing ports, expanding transport infrastructure, and operationalizing inland ports like Wankra. And here's what our policies will mean for you. Through the agribusiness policy and the Feed the Industry program, manufacturers will have more consistent access to high-quality raw materials from local farmers. We are not naive to the challenges, but we are fully committed to tackling these under our broader industrial agenda, and we will work with you to address them.
It's now time for Regional Hub. Now, the Nanton Constituency Executive Committee of the National Democratic Congress have called for the immediate removal of the District Chief Executive of the area, Abdul Rahman Rosina Zainabu, over what they describe as gross mismanagement of the affairs of the Assembly. They also want a thorough investigation into some allegations of sale of government lands in the district and diversion of some 600 bags of fertilizer intended for farmers. According to them, relieving her of her position will restore confidence among party members, traditional authority, and the public. Let's take you to Nanton right now, where my colleague Christopher Bawku was at a press conference organized by the group, and we'll connect with Christopher right now. Chris, why this call for the removal of the DCE by the Executive Committee? Is it a genuine demand, or this stems from insider fightings and we're seeing it play out in the open?
Yes, so Mawuena, if you could remember when the Nanton District Assembly met with the Public Accounts Committee, that is that of the local government ministry, where issues of some allegations of sale of fertilizer came up. The district chief executive was asked a similar question, and the answer she provided, according to the executives, did not sit well with them, because they have evidence that about 600 bags of fertilizer were diverted by the district chief executive. They have also alleged that she's been selling some government lands in the area. They also say that she does not operate from the Nanton District Assembly, she operates from Tamale. They have also raised concerns of the fact that the our district chief executive has been causing some disaffection amongst the party front, including the member of parliament for the Nanton constituency, Dr. Mohammed Sharif. There has been some level of loggerheads between the two individuals in the area, which they blame the district chief executive for such mishappenings. And so they want the president to, with immediate effect, consider relieving her of her post and bringing a new one who can foster unity and develop the area. Let's take a listen to what they've been saying.
Is that we are here publicly to express our grave concerns regarding the conduct and actions of the District Chief Executive for Nanton, Honorable Abdurrahman Rosina Zainabu, whose stewardship, in our respectful view, poses a direct threat to the cohesion, progress, and electoral prospects of the NDC in this constituency. The government interventions, such as Savannah Agricultural Value Chain Development Project, SADEP, are meant to support farmers and reduce poverty. However, we have credible reports that about 600 bags of subsidized fertilizer allocated to the district were diverted and sold to private retailers under the direction of the DCE. This act is a betrayal of the trust of our farmers, a departure from the NDC principles of accountability, and a clear example of corruption that has angered the very people we have stood with our party in difficult times. Contracts within the district have been issued in secrecy and with strong signs of favoritism. Competent NDC aligned contractors are deliberately excluded. Whilst projects such as district office renovation alleged to cost 840,000 Ghana cedis raise serious concerns about value for money. This is just the very building we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, after careful considerations and in the overriding interest of the National Democratic Congress, the Nanton Constituency Executive Committee hereby states, 1. We are calling for the immediate removal of Honorable Abdurrahman Rosina Zainabu.
Christopher, so these are the allegations. Have we heard the DC in question respond to these and seek to provide some clarifications as to the accusations?
Yes, so Mawuena, right after the press briefing, I have made several efforts. In fact, I can count the number of times I have tried reaching the district chief executive to respond to these allegations, but she's not answered any of my calls. I've also tried contacting people close to her to prompt her to, as it were, grant me audience so that I could also take her side of the story. But all efforts have yielded no positive results. But we're still trying to establish contact with her and find out from her some of the allegations that have been labeled against her to get her response to that. But I must say that it's not all too good for the NDC in the Nanton constituency, because there's a sharp divisiveness in the constituency as a result of some of these allegations from traditional authorities to the party front and other residents within the Nanton constituency.
Thank you very much. That's my colleague Christopher Bawku with a bit of details from Nanton. We can bring you some other stories right now.
In a major push to enhance local disaster preparedness and response capabilities, the Bono East Region Directorate of the National Disaster Management Organization is set to train a large contingent of volunteers across the region. A total of 440 individuals will be organized into disaster volunteer groups across all 11 districts. Belinda Tete is our Bono East Region correspondent. She joined us with a bit more on this story. Belinda, good afternoon to you. What will be the mandate of these disaster volunteer groups?
So this individual are supposed to be the person.
Belinda, we cannot hear you. You'd have to readjust your audio device so we can hear you. Belinda is our Bono East Region correspondent, where NADMO is preparing for any eventualities as far as natural disasters are concerned. We can take a listen to the Bono East Region Director of NADMO, Akwesi Lampo.
And as far as that, we have to activate this disaster group to this platform. We'll make sure that we have special group who will monitor affairs of that tourist attraction area, or make sure that no, hunter or poacher will enter there.
So if you accidentally set fire, that caused damage to properties, it's a causing damage. If our attention is drawn, we pick that person and we put that person before the courts. So as for the punishment, it will be determined by the trial court. If you are going to farm, or if you have intention of going to set fire for a game, we're saying that the law is already there.
We've also just heard from ACP Stephen Bwedu, who is Deputy Regional Director for Bono East. Let's connect again with Belinda Tete, who's our correspondent on this story. Belinda, what else can you tell us about this volunteer training exercise?
Right, so we all know that as December or as the dry season is approaching, the region, which is known for farming as well as hunting, is mostly prone to bushfires, especially with tourists. And so, as part of efforts to curb this menace, the National Directorate has started training some 440 individuals to help with first-hand assistance in disaster cases. And some special forces will be allocated to this tourist site to make sure that any individual who approaches the various tourist sites, with Kintampo being a major target, will be held responsible. And these forces are actually to patrol the areas 24/7 to make sure that the area is safe and safe against fires.
Very well, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for talking to us. Belinda Tete, our Bono East Region correspondent. Now, the strike by colleges of education teachers continues to bite as it enters its first week. First-year students at the Brekum College of Education are devastated as the enthusiasm to begin the academic year now hangs in the balance. A report by Richard Menu.
It was all joy for level 100 students who gained admission into the Brekum College of Education. But few weeks into the educational term, their joy is waning. Their teachers have been on strike since Monday, November 24th, over some unpaid allowances and awards by government.
And level 100 students. Our teachers have been on strike since Monday, so they've not been any learning, teaching and learning. Teaching and learning has not been going on. We have to learn on our own. It's only the case class that we are allowed to go, which is affecting us academically.
It has affected us in many ways. We were supposed to get our handouts before the teachers go for strike. But here is the case that we didn't even have enough of the handouts for us to study for our college base and other staff. Dealing with the government that they should pay our teachers so that they can come back to classroom and teach us.
The PRO of the WASSCE also explained that the course notes of the first years have not been released to them, and while they are on campus, there is nothing they could learn.
Since they reported, they are just roaming about because of this strike. And as we all know, when school resumes, you see that now there will be the time for you to get your lecture notes. There will be the time for you to get the course outline. Without the course outline, you cannot know what you are to study. So this thing has affected trainees in Brekum College of Education. So we would like to appeal to the government that they should heed to the call of SETAC.
The president of Brekum College of Education School Representative Council, WASSCE, has pleaded on his lectures to return to the classroom whilst government moves will honor their demand.
We that are even continuous students, sometimes when strike comes like this, it affects our grades and then a lot of stuff. And right now that freshers are reported to school, and it's going to affect them because they don't even know where they are going to, who they are going to for help, and then don't even know what entails in the courses they are going to do. So the strike is a very disturbing. I appeal to the president and then the education minister to heed to the request of our teachers, our lecturers, so that they resume office and they resume to work as early as possible, so that academic activities can bounce back.
Government is still negotiating with CTAC to arrive at an agreement on their demand.
Well, that's our package for you today. The 1st of December, last month of the year, and Christmas is nearer and ever closer. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor. We are back here same time tomorrow. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye.